Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I've got a fun project for you today. Take a look at this quilt behind me. Isn't this great? So a few years ago, I made a quilt called Katie's Quilt, and it was done just a little differently, and every once in a while I like to bring out those old quilts that I've made and kind of just redo them and give them a new twist to it, and so that's what we've done here today. So this is our block that we're working on right here. It's this great block. It's got 4 9 patches. Our sashing rows are 2 strips, and we're snowballing those corners, and when those sashing rows comes together, it forms this gorgeous star in the center. So to make this quilt, you're going to need 1 roll of 2.5-inch strips, and we have used Tonga Batik's Firework by Timeless Treasures. You're going to need a 1/2 yard of 2 different background strips. Your sashing is 1 yard, and that includes the sashing around the stars and the inner border. Your outer border is 1 yard of fabric, and we have used this lovely firework right here. And look at this backing. For the backing, you're going to need 4 yards of vertical seams or 2 yards of 108 wide. So this is the block we're talking about today, and it's actually made up of 3 different squares. There's a 9 patch, a sashing strip, and a 4 patch. And so I'm going to show you how to make all of those. We're going to start with the 9 patch. Now, when you get your roll like this, you'll notice there's lots of blues, lots of reds, and I decided that I wanted my reds to be in the outside corners of my 9 patch like this. And so when you make your strip sets, they're going to be red, blue, red. And I scrapped mine up. So they're all different. They all have, different strips, but they're always red on the outside. Then you need that 1 middle strip. And so that's a blue, red, blue. And of course, again, I just scrapped them all up. And so you're going to get those pieces. And once you get your strips formed like this, you're just going to go ahead and you're going to cut 2.5-inch strips off of those. So I'm going to lay these out here. And you'll notice my ends right here, these are uneven. So I'm going to trim those off right here like this. So just trim those off so you have a nice straight edge to work from. And then we're going to cut these at 2.5. One of the reasons I love this little 2.5-inch ruler is it's just the whole thing. There's no measuring. You're just going to lay that on there, and it's the whole thing like this. So these blue strips are the strips that we need to go down the center of our 9 patch. And so I have some of those cut right here, and we're going to go ahead and sew one of these together. So when you lay it out, you're going to lay your reds on the outside like this, just like this. And your blue strip goes in the middle. And you're going to make all your 9 patches that way. And the reason I did that is because when we put that sashing strip together, I made all the stars blue. So you can see right here, all the stars, where the star comes together, all of these little pieces are blue. And I didn't want them to have to blend in with the blue out here. I wanted them to pop against that red. So let's go ahead and sew this 9 patch together. You're going to need 4 9 patches for each block. And so I'm going to lay this on here. Now what will help with sewing these together is if you iron your red rows, the middle seam goes to the outside, and your blue one, the seam will go to the inside. And so they will nest up a little better if you do that. And so I'm going to just lay mine together, and you can just feel them nest. They go together so nice. And I'm just going to open this up. And then remember that my red goes on the outside, and I will put this one over here. Go ahead and make sure my seams are lined up. And so this makes a cute little 9 patch just like this. And you're going to need 4 of these, and I have 1, 2, 3 done, so let me quickly sew one more together here. We've got our reds on the outside and our blue in the middle. We're just going to sew this down 1/4 inch. Once you get your strip set sewn together, your strip sets of 3, this will just go together so quick. All right, so now we've got the red on the outside. And I literally have to say that every time, or I will get them mixed up. Because I am a rote sewer, so I just get sewing along, and then I'm not thinking, and so I have these little mantras, and I'll be like, red to the outside, red to the outside. And it just keeps me from having to rip. So we want to rip as little as we can. And especially if you're sewing with batiks, they don't love ripping. You know, they tend to be a little bit more sensitive. All right, so we're going to press these nice and flat. And these are going to form the corners of our block. So here's our block right here. These are going to form the corners. Now what we want to do is we want to do that sashing strip. Now in this particular roll right here, there were only a couple of white strips and they were the same. And so I opted to get a ½ yard of each one of these so that I could cut all my strips out of these because I wanted something other than a solid color. You know, I wanted to use part of the line. And so you're going to sew those together like this in 2 strips. And then we're going to cut these in 6½ inch segments because when you sew 3 2½ inch strips together, it's 6½ inches. Should be 6½ inches. But actually what you can do is you can measure your block, and whatever your block comes to, that's the size of your strip length. So mine actually does come to 6½ inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay this out here. And we're going to measure 6½ inches, and we're going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a half. Scoot it a little bit, make sure that stays on that line. Move this out of the way. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to trim these, and you will need 4 of these for each block. Now to make these work, what we did was we took blues, and our blues we used in the corners. So I think I have some blues cut right here. And I'm going to put these on the corners of my sashing, all 4 corners. And the middle part is going to cross over a little bit, and so I'm going to do this side and this side. I'm going to do opposite corners, and then we'll come back and do the other corners after we press them. So it's going to look like this. We're going to sew diagonally, corner to corner, and on both sides. So we'll put this down, and I'm using the diagonal seam tape, so I didn't have to draw the line or press the line. If you don't have that, just iron them in half, press that line or draw the line, and you're going to sew right on the line across. I'm using diagonal seam tape, so I just line up my needle with the red line in the middle. Make sure this is right on the corner, and then we're going to sew straight across. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to trim these off and press them back, and then add the other 2 corners. So let's just go ahead and press these back here and press this back here. All right, so now we're going to add these corners, and you can see that my pieces are all scrappy. I really love things scrappy, and so I planned it that way, just cut up a bunch of different fabrics so they would all be scrappy. I love that scrappy look. All right, so now, again, I'm going straight across the block. And to be honest, once you've done a few of these, you'll get so good at this, you'll just be able to eyeball it. You'll just be able to zoom from one side to the other because you'll have done it so many times. 8 times 4 on each block. So again, I'm just going to trim this off right here and trim this off. And then I'm going to press these out. Oops, I folded that one a little bit. Make sure they're laying nice and flat. All right, so now we have our 9 patches, and we have our sashing blocks. So I'm going to lay this block out like this, and these here, and I have some more sashing blocks right here, just like this, and these here. So now the last block that we need to finish this quilt is a little 4 patch right here in the center. And those little 4 patches are so easy to make. So what you can do is you can take 2 of your blue strips and sew them together like this, and then just cut off 2½ inch increments, and you'll get pieces like this. And then you're just going to put those opposite sides together like this, and sew right down the side, and that's going to make a 4 patch for you. So they're quick and easy to make. And this is the center of our block. All right, so I am going to now iron this open. And then this goes in here like this, and that blue brings it, all these blue legs together to form that star. You can see that star right there in the middle. So let's go ahead and sew this big block together. So I'm going to turn all these over to the middle like this, and like this, and I'm going to sew all the way down this one side. And just make sure they line up. They should match perfectly because they're all 6.5. And I'm going to leave my thread in between and not clip it because that will keep my whole row straight. So now I'm sewing my sashing block onto my 4 patch. And then this is the 9 patch onto the sashing block. All right, and now because these blocks are identical, I can actually flip this over the other way and I can just add my block because I know it's still a 9 patch in the corner. It's still going to be that sashing block in the middle. And this way it will keep them all straight so that when you go to sew the block together, it's all going to be connected. So here's this one, and here's our little sashing block. And here's our top one. And then we just have to sew these rows together. And you notice I don't really have to pay attention to 2 colors being next to each other or anything like that because they all go, and I'm not putting reds with reds and blues with blues. I'm just kind of matching them up like that. All right, so here's our 3, and we're just going to fold this one onto here and sew this part together. And then we'll do the same thing on that bottom row. Make sure these line up. There's nothing to match up except where the blocks and the sashing meet. That's the only thing you have to worry about. You want to make sure that those line up because everything else, this is a very forgiving block. And this is one of those blocks that's really quite easy but looks like you worked quite hard. All right, and my last row here, we're going to sew this down here, fold it over. And I love the little strings for me act as pins and keep that whole block all together for me so that I know I've got all my right pieces in there. All right, make sure that one lines up. All right, now let's press this and see how we did. I'm going to move these things out of the way. We'll lay this over here. And this looks pretty good. You know, there's something really gratifying about making your corners lining up and pressing batiks. It lays so nice and flat. I love to press batiks. All right, so here's our block right here. Now, there is a lot going on with this block, wouldn't you say? There's a lot going on with this block. It's pretty busy. And when you put these together, because this is one of the things I look at when I'm designing, I will set my blocks together like this, and I will see what secondary pattern appears. Now, what's going to happen with this is that I'm going to end up with this 4 9 patches together right here in a big block. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose my star. You know, that's not going to be what I notice. So what I decided to do was sash in between every block and make every block its own unit so that it would stand out and pop. And so we got some navy and we put it in between our blocks just like this. So whatever size your block is, this is the size that you need for your sashing pieces. Now let's look at this quilt because this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks. And because we put this sashing in here, it lets each block just be the star, you know, be the star. It actually looks so cute together. I love how you can see the quilting. We did the quilting in a cream color because we didn't really want it to show up on here, but it shows up then on this border and you see the stars and the stripes, and I believe that's the name of the quilting pattern. And then also we've got this cute border out here, and on the back, take a look how pretty this back is. Isn't that just gorgeous? And I love how the quilting actually really blends in with the back. And so it doesn't, it doesn't have to be the star on here. It steps back and lets this fabric just speak for itself. So this makes a quilt that is 65 square. So it's a great size for a picnic or whatever you want to use it for. And remember, pre-cuts are so easy because if you want a bigger quilt, you just buy an additional pre-cut and that makes it twice the size. So we're calling this quilt the Star Sashed 9-patch because of its 9 patches and its star sashing in the middle. And we hope you enjoyed this tutorial from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. We hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you are not already part of the Missouri Star Quilt family, you can hit the subscribe button below so you won't miss a thing. And if you click that bell, it'll notify you every time a new tutorial comes out. See you next Friday.